Hello, everyone. This is Peter Grandich. Always remind you, please do not look at this as investment advice. You must speak to a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decision and to read all our disclosures. Well, joining me to discuss today's news event is the CEO of Canter Resources, Jonas Lang. And Jonas, I'm not a geologist. I never played one on TV. I've been around this 40 years, but I'm going to need your help interpreting it. It reads good news, but it's not language that I'm used to seeing. So first, welcome. And second, tell us what the news was today, and maybe you can put it in layman's terms to why you think it's good.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Peter. So today's news, the final brine results from our first phase program. Again, we're drilling 15 holes here in this first phase. They are shallow. We're talking the upper 100 feet of the basin. The results are good in that when we started this program, one of the main objectives was let's get water results. Let's assay and sample water. We had hoped to hit shallow aquifers, but that was really a bonus if we were to encounter shallow aquifers, instead of just scrapping together water from pore spaces and assaying that. We have true brines in these upper 100 feet, two different distinct shallow aquifers over kilometers of strike from two different grids. So that alone was a technical success. The fact that we're seeing really elevated lithium and boron in these brines at such a shallow interval with increasing grades downhole, again, shows another positive trend that the system is getting stronger with depth. So those were the primary takeaways. These latest results, our boron grades were as high as roughly 500 milligrams per liter from the first batch of results. We're now seeing results as high as 3,000 milligrams per liter. So again, some very tremendous values on the boron side. Lithium, the first batch, we were just shy of 50 milligrams per liter. This latest batch, we're up to 76. So again, we're seeing some really, really strong numbers at such a shallow interval is a great indication for what we might find as we go deeper into the system.
I think some people know about lithium because we had such a great run a few years ago and they've heard about lithium batteries. But boron is this out of left field kind of situation, which more and more that I read about, apparently more and more usage is needed. Can we just touch on that before you go into the particulars of these results? I think it's important for people to appreciate and how rare it is in the sense of few people control whatever is out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. People that do know boron probably have, refer to borax, which has been around for over a century to wash your clothes. And of course, we've seen this industry evolve rapidly. You've got the fiberglass industry, agriculture, clean energy applications. There's been a number of different applications kind of emerging over the past few decades. It's in more recent times now that we're seeing applications in semiconductors. It's used in batteries. It's the screen of your telephone or the screen of our computers that we're talking through right now have boron in them. So again, it's an exciting market, lesser known, but it's projected to hit $3 billion within the next couple of years. And as you noted, it's very rare to find economic concentrations of boron globally. It's only produced in a few places, and Eti Maden out of Turkey, a state-owned outfit, and Rio Tinto control about 80% of the world's supply today. So as we see demand increasing and this market growing, we need supply, and there's just a few people out there right now that are producing boron at scale. So that's the opportunity. Locally, the other kind of key thing to mention, this basin was a producer of borax back in the late 1800s from brines. So we know they could produce it back then. The neighboring project, Ioneer's Rhyolite Ridge, which is about 250 million US market cap, has a large lithium and boron resource, feasibility stage. The same volcanic rocks that feed their project feed the Columbus Basin as well. So it's always been there, Peter. It's been an opportunity for us. Speaking candidly, when we first looked at the project, we looked at boron mainly as a pathfinder. Where you have good boron grades, you typically know you'll have good lithium concentrations as well. So that's what drew us to the opportunity in part was there was boron here. Seeing these kind of grades, this shallow, certainly gives us an opportunity to define a shallow boron resource in these upper levels before getting to the higher lithium concentrations at more moderate depths.
And from what little I do know, and I really called upon a third party to ask me, is the fact that, and I know you're going to show in a minute what you actually seen, but the fact that it's been found so near the top and plentiful bodes well for the future drill programs that you're expecting. Am I correct in that?
You are, yeah, and that's probably a good time. I'll share screen here just to show a couple of figures. Let me know when this comes up for you.
Okay, it's up.
Okay. So this first figure is a plan view. This is showing in the background. You can see the different colors. That is the HSAMT, the underlying um, conductivity and resistivity that we've got from that geophysical survey. You can see that it's open to the west here, pointing out this way. And these two grids were about 5 kilometers apart. We'll show you a long section that goes right through this line of drill holes. Again, averaging between 50 and 100 feet. What you'll notice when we pull up the long section is the grades do increase as with depth. But importantly for us, you can see the edge of this survey. This is not where that anomaly stops. That's where the survey stopped. So we drilled offensive holes out here 5 kilometers to the west. And sure enough, we're still seeing high boron grades. You can see 1730 and 76 lithium here. Down to the southern end, 3,140 milligrams per liter boron, 45 lithium. So again, what we're showing here is very widespread mineralization very close to surface.
So would it be fair to say, I'm sorry, going to ask you, do you go now and do a geophysics, or the fact that you've already drilled in a sense without the geophysics and found it, is there no need to do that?
It's something we'll consider. I think for now, we're finding we're generating a lot of really good, valuable data through the drill bit. And so I think we'll continue with that. Certainly going forward, expanding the geophysics would make sense as well. But for now, doing more of this shallow drilling and then drilling a deeper well is the next steps for us.
Gotcha.
So this long section, again, these arrows are showing conceptual interpreted flow and mobility of the mineralization. You can see as we move towards this structure that we saw in some of the drilling, the grades are increasing as we get with depth. Over here on the northern end, again, the deeper points, 650, 650. Again, on the boron side, we're seeing higher grades. Through some of the historical drilling, Peter, we've looked at the downhole geophysics. We know there was an interpreted third aquifer zone between about 100 and 150 feet. We're showing that here on this slide. We will be doing follow-up drilling another 10 holes to try to link those two grids that I showed here. So we'll do some drilling in between, some broadly spaced drilling here to try to connect these grids, as well as a couple other new exploration targets that we'll test with a follow-up program later this month.
So the one thing someone that's very high on this project told me today is, Pete, just always remember, when you're looking at other places, you can come up with 1,000 reasons why different metals might have escaped the area you thought to be in. But in this basin, he uses the line, there is no escape. Can you kind of like just, for a layperson again, to understand why this basin is so special?
Well, it's both structurally and hydrologically closed. And so that means the only way for any minerals to escape is through evapotranspiration. So again, essentially to a layman, this has acted like a sponge for 23 million plus years. And all of those minerals that have been leaching off of the surrounding volcanics have entered this basin, migrated down structures, trapped in these deeper seated aquifers or reservoirs, and they've had nowhere to go. So again, as we're just scratching the surface here in the brine generation layer, we're getting very encouraging results that support our deeper drilling. And like I mentioned before, we're showing some compelling boron numbers, especially so shallow.
So what's the next phase now, John? What takes place next?
Yeah, so we have a rig model that has capability of going a bit deeper, broader drill tooling. So we'll be able to get down beneath the depths of this first phase drilling. As I mentioned, we have two grids that were 5 kilometers apart. So we're going to do some east-west drilling in between these two, show continuity, test that third aquifer zone. Next steps beyond that would be, let's take some of the brine samples and do some preliminary metallurgical direct extraction considerations. We know boron is very high on the Department of Defense's list. One of the other boron-related projects in the US has already been classified as critical infrastructure, so we'll start to explore some of those potential partnerships as well. And that'll be the next phase. Should start late July, conclude by mid-August, and we'll have those results out in September. Keep in mind our solid and clay results from phase 1 for 9 holes are also pending, so we should have those results out in about 2 or 3 weeks' time as well.
And what do you want to see in something like that? What's your hope that will verify what you've been thinking all along?
Well, I'd like to see if we hit that third aquifer, we'd love to see grades increasing again, just to show that further precipitation is continuing as we get a little deeper into this basin. I'd like to see the continuity between our east and west grids prove out, show that these aquifers are consistently being encountered across those 2 grids. And we're also testing a really interesting geothermal target that was not tested in phase 1, where we had some extremely high surface values. So that's another hole that, love to see a discovery in the northern part of the property as well.
Well, in an industry right now that's really the most hurting it's ever been in the 40 years I've been in it, you seem to be having all the results one can hope for at this point in time.
Yeah, and we're balancing that, right, Peter? It is a tough market. One of my favorite things about this direct push drilling is it's cost effective. That first phase program was about $150,000 all in. So again, this is a really, really cheap, relatively cheap way to prove the concept further, get really valuable data. And so we'll continue with this second phase of this work here this summer.
I didn't mean to laugh, but I've been in deals where they spent 150,000 on one hole, so.
Well, exactly. The deeper well drilling is more expensive, but to take those shots, you want to be damn sure that where you're drilling, you got your best shot at a big discovery, and this drilling is really helping us with that.
Well, like I said earlier, I think it was everything one could have expected, and obviously we look forward, and as soon as there's more results, we'll come back to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Peter.